Hello. Thank you for attending this webinar for PAIRS by GandySoft. As an appraiser myself for over 20 years, I know precisely the laborious task of extracting adjustments with traditional paired sales. Even though paired sales analysis is the bedrock method for appraisers, we have seen it come under fire in recent years. This is not because of the lack of merit to the approach, but rather as a result of it being performed on a microcosm of sales. So what if we could harness large sets of data and apply that tried and true method? Well, what you get is a modern day approach on the gold standard that is also statistically supported. GandySoft was formed for this very reason, to provide quality, credible analysis for today's appraiser using the method most widely understood and practiced by the appraiser. This is PAIRS. During the course of this webinar, we will explore some of the items that will give you insight into the PAIRS platform itself, as well as some of the basic information to assist you in providing credible, quality market analysis for use in your appraisal assignments. Remember, the PAIRS platform was designed to be navigated by a professional appraiser, and its outputs validated as credible. This is not a regression program, nor an automated platform. It is one that needs the engagement and validation of an expert. PAIRS was specifically designed to bolster the appraiser, not replace them. PAIRS is the power tool for today's appraiser. So first, let's explore some of the basics that are truly necessary to successfully navigate the PAIRS platform, not just one time, but every time. The most crucial element is the collection of data for analysis. When we talk about the collection of data, we need to be mindful that a comprehensive analysis is subject to the law of numbers. Basically, the more robust the set of data, the better the results will be. Why, you ask? Simply because the real estate market is not only dynamic, but it is also not perfect. When you take a micro set of data with multiple variations of variables and pricings, the prospects for credible findings gets reduced. That being said, homogeneous sets of data that are small can render very credible results, but it all comes down to the quality and similarity of the data. You want to define the area that you consider to be the market area for your subject property. This is not to be confused with the immediate tract or subdivision for the most part, but rather the area by which it would be a consideration for a similar type of property to the typical buyer. Once you've done that, you want to define the type of property, such as detached single-family residence, townhouse, condo, manufactured home, etc. Then you want to define the style of the property, one-story, two-story, etc. Now, when you put in some parameters, we advise that you put in some broad parameters. For example, plus or minus 50% for livable area for your subject property, and also some broad parameters for age. Please note, do not be concerned that you are going to locate properties that are outside of your parameters of similarity, because you will have an opportunity to filter down these records in the platform. Following this mindset will save you from potentially having to do multiple downloads in cases where you have minimal data or wide variances. When you do it this way, you always have the ability to increase or decrease your filters. And when you do it that way, it saves you time. And that's what it's all about. Once you've located your data, export the information in your custom PAIRS export format. Tab delimited is preferred. Name and save the file to a location that you will remember. You now have a data file ready for analysis in the PAIRS platform. Let's run an analysis. Now you'll want to log in to GandySoft.com, log into your account, and then click the button Create a New Analysis. Enter the title. We suggest the file number. For this purpose I'll do webinar. The type of property, mine is a single family, and we're going to choose the date. The date of my analysis is actually December 5th. Then click Save. Now you want to enter the data portion. Make sure that your source of data, mine is Greater Las Vegas Association of Realtors, selected. Then click Upload. Locate your export file and click Open. Once your data is uploaded, you will see the data in an indexed tabled format. When the data is in this format, you can clearly see all of the columns and the data that's in there: contract date, sale date, addresses. You can scroll through the data if you would like to see if there's any anomalies that stick out. Otherwise, you will have that option to do that in more detail inside the platform. Next, click the blue hyperlink that says Analyze Pairs. At this point, an initial analysis is performed on the data set you have provided. Now remember, I put in broad parameters, so I'm going to want to, since I have a healthy, robust market, I'm going to want to go check mark the sub-market box and then click Change. This is where we're going to filter down the properties. I'm going to scroll down to the livable area variable. Simply select the variable to filter. Peruse the range of values. It looks like mine goes from 1,125 square feet all the way up to 2,054. I'm going to go ahead, since my property is a 1,534 square foot property, I'm going to go ahead and select a range between 1,230 to 1,838, approximately plus or minus 20%, because I have a lot of data. Then I'll click Save. Now an analysis will begin only including the properties within the 1,230 to 1,838 square foot range, which is my submarket. Now I will want to go to the Change button in the upper left-hand area for the market rate. Here I can see the change in the market rate for this data set. If you applied a submarket filter as I did, simply check the submarket box to see the market change for only the properties in the filter. You can choose to leave the rate blank, or you can examine both sales price changes or sales price changes per square foot. We also give you multiple graph type options such as column, scatter plot, area, etc. Currently, if you select a rate, all properties will be adjusted for market conditions on a straight line basis from contract dates to the effective date. You also have the ability to insert a number of days to not adjust for prior to your effective date in cases of relative stability that may have been occurring over the prior few months. Once you've made a selection, click Save and an analysis will start factoring in all the added marker rates. Now you will see the initial findings. In this example, you will see that the bathroom is returning a no solution result. This means that under the current variables list, a counterintuitive result is being returned. If this happens, you either want to remove the variable or add variables to test for possible collinearity. Also, you can test or change your tolerances to see if that makes an impact. When a variable is highlighted, you can click on the Stats tab towards the bottom of the page and examine the records in your analysis. If you have a submarket filter, check the submarket to review your data. The volume columns indicate the bath count in this example, and the count field indicates how many records have that bath value in your submarket. This function is an easy way to spot potentially incorrect information in the data. Since all of our information in the data appears reasonable, there doesn't appear to be a need to filter out any records. Now we do have some defaults in the platform that will populate items located in your data set. For example, in this data set, it shows a manufactured home. Now I know this area well, and this is not correct. More than likely an error when entered by the realtor. So I'm simply going to highlight that variable and select None in the drop-down box. This will keep the record in the data for analysis, but it tells the platform that that is not a variable that is significant. Alternately, I could go into the submarket and select manufactured home and select None, but that will entirely remove the record from analysis, and I am confident that the record is good, but an error was made in the manufactured field. After None is selected, click Update. Bathrooms is still not showing a solution, so rather than removing it, I'm going to add some variables to see if any collinearity may exist that may alter that result. So I will add in some variables. Simply click Add a Variable and choose the variables which you want to add. For discussion, I'm going to go ahead and try to add balcony and covered patio. Remember though, these are typically secondary drivers of value, such as covered patio, balcony, and they may be very sensitive to errors in the data. Again, like any method you choose to extract adjustments, if the results are not credible, you can reject them by removing that variable, altering your tolerances, etc. Now with the addition of the balcony and covered patio, my bathroom is giving a result, and one that in my opinion is credible for the area. A quick review of the variable also reveals credible results. When you highlight a variable, a dialog box appears. Some data points revealed in the analysis will show. You also have a histogram showing you the distribution of recorded adjustments extracted for that variable. If you click in the histogram, you can dynamically see how many records were recorded between certain amounts, the frequency of the number of extracted adjustments, and the range is the range of values. Simply click Close to go back to the navigation panel of PAIRS. I just selected livable area and we can see the histogram is distorted. But that is because we have not applied a filter to the outliers just yet. So now let's go ahead and apply a filter to the results. I will choose Trim 5. This trims 5% of the results from both sides of the histogram evenly, which removes outliers from the upper and the lower ends of the histogram. Click Update after your selection. Now you have the results after your filter has been applied. In the case of Trim 2.5 or Trim 5, you start to see much more uniform histograms. You can check for skewness and then lean towards the lower or the upper end of the ranges of values, depending, to compensate if you choose. Review the outputs for credibility in the figures. You can also change the tolerances to see the impact to the data. Don't be alarmed if a change significantly changes a variable. This is just a function of modeling, and different rules produce different results. You're the expert. It's up to you to validate the credibility of the output of the model. And if your rules are reasonable and the output is credible, that's all that matters. Experiment. It's insightful. In this case, you can see some slight changes make no difference. Other changes, slight changes as they may be, make significant differences. This is all part of modeling. Statistical modeling with data sets, provided the rules you have. As long as they're reasonable, they're totally credible. Again, in order to model, you need three elements. You need a data set. Second, you need a set of rules. That would be your variables, tolerances, market rate, submarket filters, and the like. The third part is the outputs of your model. Once you've modeled your data set to where the outputs are credible, in your opinion, for that area, based on your experience, as well as the overall corresponding values, simply click the upper blue hyperlink, Define Adjustments to the upper right-hand portion of the screen. You can see some alterations don't make much difference, some do. You can also use percentages. You can use hard numbers. For example, 500 tells the platform 500 square feet. 2% is 2%, or you can change that to plus or minus 50 square feet. Again, As long as they're reasonable rule sets, they matter. Every time you make an alteration, click Update to update your model and run a new analysis under your new parameters. Once you've validated all your results and are confident that those are accurate, go to the upper right-hand corner in the blue hyperlink that says Define Adjustments. This will take you to the validation page. This validation page allows you to either accept the central point, or in the case of rounding or leaning of skewness, you can enter your own number in that field. Again, you can accept the numbers there as they are, which may create a little bit more work for you on the adjustment side, or you can simply round them to a number that is credible. But make sure they're within that range of low to high. So I'm going to go ahead and round some of these numbers. I'll put 50 for livable area, 5,000 for a garage bay, 11,000 for a gate. I'll do $1 a square foot for land, 15,000 for a pool. I'll leave REO and short sale as they may. I won't use them in my appraisal regardless. Year built, I'll round to 800. Covered patio, I'll go ahead and make that 2,500. Balcony, I'll go ahead and make that 2,000, an even number. And then for bathrooms, I'll go ahead and again round that to an even number of 3,000. After you validated your adjustments and they're within the ranges, simply click Save. This will record your validated adjustments for the model. Now you will go to the hyperlink, the blue one, up to the upper right hand corner that says Validate Adjustments. This is a page that we created for appraisers worthy of inclusion in a report. This page does not show the range of values, the low and the high, for ambiguity purposes. This actually shows that the number you have assigned in the model is validated. It shows some basic information, such as the number of pairs that went into that, any tolerances that you may have applied, market rate adjustments, the number of properties in the data analysis, and some basic parameters such as the livable area, the variance in the lot sizes, etc. This shows all of the variables in your model and the histograms and corresponding data points behind it. This is not the only page that you will get of your analysis. This is a appraisal worthy included report. You see all your variables. As we scroll down further, we've even added some commentary for the end user to allow them to understand that these are the adjustments validated by the professional in the statistical analysis model. The comment, the appraiser has assigned adjustment values to fit within a calculated range derived from the statistical model. These adjustments are statistically supported in the market area and are only validated if the value falls within this defined range. If you enter a value outside of your high and low range, it will give you a red histogram and a red box, and also a comment at the bottom that states you have supplied a value outside of the range. Once you validated you're correct, click View Report. Now this report that we have designed is a work file retention report. This has all of the statistical data points, the low range, the high range, all of your rule sets again for your model, as well as some other data points such as the mid-range, mid-hinge, mean, median, tri-mean, and some other statistical data points. This is the report you want in your work file if you're ever questioned about your analysis. This shows that you did a comprehensive analysis of that market area, and that under the ascribed parameters, these are what the values would render. This is the report that you want for your work file. This report shows all of the variables and the rule sets under your statistical model that, if followed, the rendered values would be equal to this. This shows you, as well as your work file or anybody that you may have to produce it to, that you have analyzed this market and validated the credibility. We're nearing the end of this sample analysis, and we wanted to give you some basics of what was involved. Again, don't be afraid to experiment by adding, removing variables, being mindful that secondary variables have a tendency to attract the noise inside your data set that occurs. Remembering, the market is not perfect, neither are you. That being said, this is the most comprehensive analysis an appraiser can provide using the gold standard method, paired sales analysis. PAIRS is a patent-pending revolutionary platform based on paired sales analysis, synthesized with allowable tolerances, iterative solving, and statistical filtering for the results. PAIRS is not a regression program and does not require an advanced knowledge of statistics. It's easy to understand, easy to navigate, and credible results can be communicated to the end user with transparency with the validation report that's included in the platform. There is no magic equation involved, no special algorithms, just simple math and algebra with rules in place to detect central points of values recorded. Now let's discuss why this platform works and how. Well, first you upload your set of data. The data is indexed and tabled so that you and the platform can identify differences between properties. When you run a pairs analysis, the platform simply examines the properties you uploaded to extract values for the differences between them. Just like paired sales, comparisons between properties are only done provided the properties are identical in all attributes, with the exception of a variable included in your analysis, or within the tolerances of variables included that were assigned by you. For example, if you have a 2% allowable tolerance for livable area, a negligible difference in your opinion, then a 1,500 square foot property would be considered equal in livable area to properties ranging between 1,470 and 1,530 square feet. Again, this allows for the extraction of values for other variables you have included in your model, with a slight tolerance for the livable area field. For example, this would allow a 1,500 square foot property with a 2-car garage to be compared to a 1,480 square foot property with a 3-car garage, provided all other items are identical, similar, or within the stated tolerances, allowing the platform to extract for the value of the difference of the 2-car garage to the 3-car garage, if any. The same logic applies to all variables assigned a tolerance, which creates an explosion of potential pairs. Please, don't be worried about those tolerances either. After the initial findings are recorded in pairs, the iterative method will begin and the platform will revisit those tolerances and still extract values for those differences. Simply put, after the platform solves for that garage, it will apply that amount in place of the garage and then still measure out the differences in the field with the tolerances. This is the beauty of pairs, and the logic that makes sure all differences are accounted for in your model. Remember, you assign tolerances and they can be changed at your pleasure or removed if you choose. Just be mindful that if you have no tolerances assigned, you typically want a robust large set of data, because this will greatly reduce the possible pairs for your variables. Sometimes increasing, decreasing, or removing tolerances altogether will render more credible results. Don't be afraid to experiment. Your rules applied for your model are recorded and can be easily duplicated under those circumstances. Just ensure that your rules tolerances are reasonable. For example, a 30% tolerance for livable area might be mighty difficult to defend as reasonable. but a 3% or 100 square foot tolerance for livable area may be easily defended depending on the size of your subject property. As noted earlier, you have the ability to add a variable for consideration that you feel is significant. Simply go to the bottom of the navigation panel as shown and click Add a Variable. PAIRS will now include that as a significant variable in the analysis, only allowing pairing between properties that are identical or within tolerances assigned, with only one difference between your selected variables. The same logic applies with removing a variable. Remember, you are in control of the model, and the model should not contain any variables that return a non-credible result or a no-solution result. For ease of discussion, a non-credible result may be indicated by a result of $32,000 for a bathroom. A no-solution result indicates that the variable is not returning a logical result, such as a negative number. In either case, you do not want to accept a non-credible or a no solution because it will impact the rest of your model. If you don't want to remove the variable, sometimes collinearity exists between another variable and that variable. Simply testing your model by adding variables or removing insignificant ones may bring out a credible value in a variable you think is significant. Again, as I showed you, digging deeper into the data, into the Stats tab, is very useful. In some cases, non-credible or no solution results may be simply applied from an anomaly in your data set. For example, if your property in your data set has been reported to have 15 car garages, where most of your data ranges between 0 and 3 cars, that property may create noise in the results. If you see a result for a variable that is not credible, and you would like a quick way to attempt to identify any properties that may be contributing to that result, simply highlight the variable in question and click the Stats tab towards the bottom of the PAIRS navigation panel. This area will display to you the values in the data for the stated variable, i.e. 2 in the value column for garage would signify 2-car garage, and the count would signify how many properties have that value noted. Again, as in the previous example, if your garage adjustment does not seem credible and you locate a property or properties that are reporting non-typical amounts, such as a 15-car garage with one record, you may want to exclude that from the analysis, which may render more credible results. Remember, MLS data can be incorrectly entered. You can either clean the data by going into the tab Delimited File, correcting the data, saving the file, and then reloading the data. Or you could simply exclude it from the analysis by entering the submarket portion Change button located at the upper right-hand corner of the navigation panel. When using the submarket filtering, make sure to check the box, click Change, then select the variable you wish to filter from the drop-down box. Once you have located that variable, simply select the range of values that's acceptable or credible for that data set, and it will exclude anything not in that submarket filter. I'd like to thank you all for participating in the GandySoft PAIRS webinar. We hope this was insightful, and we want to give back the power to the appraiser by using the gold standard method we all know, and this is what it's like in a big data situation. Thank you.